Yeah, you gotta train. What do you do to train your dream self during the day? What do you do to train your rainbow body or astral self or whatever you want to call this thing? You know, to me, I just have a bunch of experiences. I was thrown into these deep waters head first. I'm just learning to swim, and for me, it's like yeah, the thing, the thing where you do the thing. So that's like my word for it. But what do you do? I honestly, I don't practice that much. What should I do? Should I be like, I'm flying, Hadouken, I am in a shield, you can't hurt me, and like, oh, I'm gonna manifest bananas, and then there's a free food, what do you do? I'm curious, tell me. Today I was gonna make the coolest video ever, and then my standard got very, very high, and I didn't make any video at all. So now we're gonna make a very quick video right here, and it's like, what should a standard dream self do, right? Well, it should fly. We should definitely be able to fly, right? Fireballs, that's standard. Everyone can do that one. And shield, well, frankly, we are already invulnerable, so it's just a stylistic choice. But in order to learn that truth, we might have to make a drop-off at the shield station. Yeah, force fields and Hadoukens and flying and stuff. And then, of course, super useful, the manifesting. So he thinks banana, poof, a banana appears out of thin air. So typical dream stuff, right? I had a dream, but I was more of a spectator. I didn't become lucid, but it was good stuff. Me and some other dude, we were walking. In the beginning, it was like Lord of the Rings, and there were these glass structures that had been burnt to glass, basically rocks that had been burnt to glass, and below there was like clay, and some of it was really hot and bubbling. And then it turns out it was not Lord of the Rings, it was actually the Lionheart brothers, and we were chasing down Katla the dragon. And the Lionheart brothers is a book by a Swedish author named Astrid Lindgren, and we were chasing this dragon and trying to sneak upon the dragon so that we could take it out really easy. But then it woke up, and then it dug into the mountain, and it left a cave made out of clay. And it's like super dangerous. You just look into that clay cave and it's like, oh no, this is very dangerous. But my friend, when this happened, a lot of land mass and clay was moved, and his hand came into the clay. And when he took his hand out of the clay, his hand had aged backwards, becoming younger. So very, very symbolic right there. And you know how it's like in a dream, if you're looking into a cave and it's made out of clay, a dragon just dug it by digging into the mountain, can collapse at any moment. You kind of don't want to go. You know that feeling? That eerie feeling. So anyways, it's summer here, and I don't want to meditate with the gateway experience in the summer. So what I do is I do the gateway in the middle of the night, and then I go back to sleep. So I get like 4 hours of sleep. And something funny happened, because my dream self wakes up when I dream, and he goes up and he writes in his journal, and then he also went to do the gateway experience. And so there was a lot of stuff happening, and it was like he was listening to his own dimensions version of the gateway experience, and the woman on the tape recording says, "No one survives going further and further." And then there were vibrations coming really quick, like like that. And then when I woke up, I saw it had dug a tunnel. So even though I didn't have agency in the dreams, me going up and doing that gateway experience compiling on top of this dream, worked together to create this tear in reality that was shooting out golden and blue, kind of like some kind of diamond-shaped drops, and that was really interesting. Important to train also for the dream self, it seems, because it can become kind of like a victim, because in the dream, honestly, I felt I couldn't take the dragon. And if we become lucid and we have training, then of course it's no problem, because then it's like, I'm the lucid dreamer, now you're gonna get it, and you just telepathy and telekinesis them to shove their own head up their butt. It's like you're Mewtwo, the strongest of all Pokemon. It's just, you have all the power at that point, if you have the practice. Also when you start investigating this, you also discover this dark void realm, and stuff that's very different from ordinary dreams happen there. And for me, this is the astral realm. When it's like glowy stuff, it's kind of dark and murky, and there are translucent people. It's kind of more psychedelic, if that makes sense to you. A little bit more ayahuasca-ish, if that makes sense to you. A little bit more dimethyltryptamine-ish, if that makes more sense to you. And this opens up when you start investigating dreams. And there seems to be multiple selves. So it's kind of like there's a void self. And this void self can activate with us and a little bit of the residue from the dream state, and then you have like astral bodies and astral themes and that kind of stuff. But the void self, it's something you can enter. You can learn to enter this. This is easy, relax, and you feel, I'm not too sleepy, but I'm definitely not super alert. And then you go into to just do a body scanning, and maybe you start focusing on the throat, and then there's a quick flash and you see a vision for 2 seconds, and then it disappears. But it doesn't have to be the throat. It can be anywhere, body scanning. And of course, then when you do this, then you can do that, or you can open the window forcibly by using plant medicine, which is going to lead you into seeing these things that are kind of more neutral, right? So here we have, maybe we've experienced something. Maybe we looked at a picture of Kali. We heard she was about the throat. Or she cut the head off that guy, so therefore you see this. But when you learn to be kind of like, you want to see it uncontaminated, maybe you see something like this, because you're in neutral, so you just get patterns and light. And then, of course, then when you understand these two, then you can start thinking, about the petals on the lotus flower, and you're in the dark, or you're blindfolded. You look in the mirror, and there they are. It's like, oh, because you created that feeling, and then you entered a meditative state. And this has happened to me, and I can say that this is real. Work on that void astral self, but you must also work on the dream self. And there's also this kind of overlap state. You go into the void, you come back, there's a ton of color if you stay there long enough. And this happens every night naturally when we start dreaming, but we don't see it because we're too sedated and we're not aware. And I could go through this. Let's read this, the dream catcher chakra, which is above the void chakra. Both of them have 16 spokes. Why? To prolong the sadhana, so that you focus on the directions. So one above here, and then this one is above there again, so that's why it has 16 spokes. So this will be, the void will be taking over for Muldhara, and then the dream catcher takes over for Swandhisthana, and both of them have 16. But you can have multiple rings. So maybe inside that ring is Muldhara, and inside this ring is Swandhisthana, and you can do that. I have a ton of chakras. And then, of course, It is the petals are reflex colored. You know, they are reflex colored. So when you shine light on it, it's like it's a reflex. You know, so you can be seen in traffic. And then spontaneous creation out of void. That's like the theme here, and it's fascination and relaxation. A shallow state of sleep where one can choose to remain by resonating with sleep. Available with practice very early, as early as focus 10. Did I get this? This is some, I mean, it's there, right? It's there. You just need to get lucky in the beginning and to do it skillfully. Oh my God. So for now, the only way I can do that is like 16 hours of meditation. Usually accessed in tamas, then sattvic, and finally rajasic. Yeah, so you're gonna get lucky in tamas, then with sattvic you're gonna have to work your ass off, and finally in rajasic, maybe you can. Then you have it at all times, you know, because you can do it even if you're stressed. Damn, then you're good. Astral body is feeling of body. Yeah. If this happens after death, do not worry. There is more. Simply start your meditation. You know, so yeah, you know, like void is guaranteed, but maybe there's more. Maybe there's more, but then it stops, and it's like, oh shit, I'm dead. Don't worry about that. Just start your meditation. This is kind of like Bardo Thodol thinking here. I've been reading the Bardo Thodol Tibetan Book of the Dead. Vajra is reflex color. Element is light of spontaneous. Yeah, so that's the light. It shines with the light of spontaneous. Symbol is a dream catcher inside of the chakra, as you can see here. Oh, it's a cool chakra I've made. And Durga is ayahuasca. I don't know. These are just questions. Nadi is reaching between bodies in different dimensions. Yeah, because you're going into the dream, right? Very powerful between dreams. If one is not sleepy, seeing this triggers endocrine system, one feels awake and immediately visions dissipate. Yeah, this I feel right now. This has happened to me many times. I had no Siddhi when first seeing this. Yeah, so this is very easily accessible. I used bottle breathing with focus on pranayam. It did not take long to see. Without practice, this is not an observable state of the mind. If this follows void relaxation, this too is guaranteed, because void relaxation is guaranteed. But then there must be like, well, it's just like, you know, I'm trying to find some grounding here. So the void can be grounding because it's guaranteed. And so this is also guaranteed because the void is guaranteed. I see a lot of long-haired guys. This is the third one that's been here. I've had 3 long-haired guys visiting me after this journey started this year, and didn't have a hat. So that's something new. So I recently had a dream about Tsem. You know, Tsem Tulku Rinpoche is dead now, but he was reading my journal. And so I took his journal and I peeked in his journal, and he had some goofy looking drawings of Vajrayogini, and I looked at them and it looked like this. It didn't look exactly like this, but pretty close. And so it would have been funny, wouldn't it have been funny, if it turned out that it was actually in his journal or someone's journal, and they were like, damn, how did he find the journal?